Okay, so remember last time what we did was we went through the process for finding standard deviation. I do have the process here. You know, it was in the notes from last time, but I just posted it, but it's also here as well. And just remember also, if you have sample data, you divide by n minus 1 in step 5. You know, again, that's what we do, where n again is how many data values you have. Whereas if you have the whole entire population, then you divide by n, the number of data values. I honestly don't know why we divide by n minus 1 instead of n for sample data, but that's just what people do. Also, not only that, we will assume, unless stated otherwise, the data we have is sample data. Okay. Again, that's just a convention the book is following, so I figured it'd be good if we follow it as well. Okay. All right, so here's another example. Also, don't forget, you could actually check your work using Google Sheets, but if I ask you to do something, say, if I ask you to do a standard deviation on an exam or the final, I really want to see calculations like this, okay? You know, if you just give me an answer, you're not going to get any credit probably. Because again, I know there's software out there that can do the calculations for you, but I still want to make sure you know how to do the calculations, okay? All right, so again, we have this data. It comes from a sample, so it's sample data, that is. Okay, and so here, right, what you want to do, remember, is you want to get the mean first. Remember, the mean, as we saw, it's just the average, okay? You know, in the regular sense, so to say. In other words, you add up the data values and you divide by how many data values there are. So in this case, there's 8, okay? You add them up and divide by 8, you get 6. Right. And then remember, what you do next is I put it in columns. You have to subtract the mean from each data value. Okay, that's what you have to do. So we have the data values here listed. We subtract the mean from each one, right? That's what the table is doing. That's what we're doing in the table, excuse me. What we're also doing is we're squaring the difference, as you can see. We're squaring the difference. Okay, that's what we're also doing. Squaring that difference. All right. So for instance, here we have 4 squared. I mean, although wait a minute, oh, that's all right. I mean, really, I guess this should be 4 squared. Let me just fix that quickly. Although it's really not that big a deal for us, I guess, 'cause since we're squaring, the negative goes away. We have 1 squared minus 3 squared minus 2 squared and so on, okay? And then next, what you do, remember, is you add up all these squares. Excuse me, you add them all up. Now remember, this is sample data, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to divide by, not 8. This is sample data. You always divide by n minus 1. N is how many data values you have. So in this case, n is 8, so we divide by 7. And once you do that, we have the variance, as you can see. So now we have just the variance, okay? So what we have now is the variance so far. And to get the standard deviation, you actually have to take a square root. And that's what we're doing here, okay? And again, normally, on the exams, I'll tell you how many decimal places to round to. Here I did 2. Really, I guess, randomly, so to say, that randomly I chose 2 decimal places. So, but I will tell you how many to round it to. So again, you know, this is what we're doing. All right. So this is an example of standard deviation. Now, I really want everyone to try this, and we have some more examples as well. I mean, I really am hoping to get through chapter 12 before the semester ends. But if I don't, that's not a big deal. So, are there any questions on this stuff? Right now we're in chapter 11. Because the next one, I think I let everyone try out. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so for this one, I want everyone to try this one. And again, what you're going to do, okay, is you're going to get here, you have sample data, you're going to find the mean, and you're going to find the standard deviation. I mean, maybe it's a little redundant for me to say find the mean, because for the standard deviation, you need the mean. So I want everyone to try that out now for a little bit. I'm going to pause the clock. I'm going to stop the clock and stop the recording. But I want everyone to try that out for a bit.